You are listening to the Healthy Christian Women Podcast, brought to you by Fit+Faith, the podcast for Christian women to grow healthier in their mind, body, and spirit. Jumpstart your health with your complimentary mind, body, and spirit detox checklist at healthychristianwomen.com/detox. That's healthychristianwomen.com/detox. Here's your host, Dr. Melody Stevens.
Hello and welcome to the Healthy Christian Women Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melody Stevens, and this is episode 13. Today we have a very special episode, and we are recording with a supplement expert, Jason Vaught, joining us from Ventura, California, with his business, Better Body Sports. And he has been in the industry dealing with supplements and everything that comes along with that for the past 15 years. And we are so excited to have him here because this is a hot button topic. Everybody wants to know what to do, but can be very intimidated by the traditional big chain supplement stores. And you go in and you don't really know what companies are good, what are not good. Is the salesperson just trying to make a sale? Or are they just trying to make commission? I don't really know what to do. And so then so many women that I come across, myself included sometimes, can be overwhelmed. And so that's why I'm so excited to have this episode with you. And we have some amazing questions that the ladies have already been submitting that we're going to do our best to get through however many we can today. And then seeing kind of how much we're able to cover. We might have to go into a part 2 episode in the future, so we'll just see what happens. But Jason, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. So I've already run some of these questions by you, and I think you can agree, man, there's a lot of confusion in the supplement industry, and especially for women that are just getting started in their health or wanting to take their health to the next level. And we hear that supplements can be good, but we don't really know. And then you go to the store and you just see rows and rows and rows of different protein powders. And do I do pea protein or whey protein, or what does this mean? And what does this mean? And it's just is so confusing.
Yeah, it's never ending.
What do you have to say about that? How do you handle those types of questions in your store?
Well, so the first thing, I'll share a story. About 5 years ago, I made the decision that we were going to take a day and we were going to turn the entire store around. We were going to take every single bottle and we were going to turn it around so that the only thing you could see was the supplement facts. And that's the biggest problem with our industry, is that people think they take a hemp protein, pea protein, amino acid supplement, Hoodia supplement. I mean, you just name it. But what they are seeing is the front of the label, and the front of the label doesn't ever tell the whole story. You have to turn it around and see the supplement facts and what's actually in it, the amounts that are in it, what the other ingredients are, to determine if it's the right product for you. And so I think more often than not, people are taking the wrong product, but they're also taking the wrong dosages of products and maybe taking additional products that they don't know that they're taking because they're not taking the time to read what's actually in each product. So yes, it's a very confusing industry.
It's so confusing, yes. And it's not even about reading it. It's like you don't even know what you're reading.
That's true.
Unless you do so much research ahead of time or are able to get expert advice, and maybe the people in the store are knowledgeable, but maybe they're not really, and maybe they're just going to say yes to every question you ask instead of actually educating you. So man, because there's so many terms and so many words, and then when it comes to like added sugars and things, they can call that a million things too. So then you're like, well,
yeah,
is what's good in here for me, is it outweighed now by all the other additives and sugar and stuff that they're putting in here that I might actually be trying to avoid, but I don't even know that they're in there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll give you 2 things people don't pay attention to. Number one is that the biggest supplement company in our industry in terms of physical presence, physical retail locations, pays on average $6 to $7 commission for every item that they sell in the store. And so the need to sell something goes up when your pay basically doubles every time you make a transaction. And then on the other side of it is that the marketing is so misleading that there's a particular protein cookie on the market that people don't understand that they're consuming the same amount of sugar that's found in a soda from eating one
Wow.
of those protein cookies. So they think they're doing their body well, and they just have no idea.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, then let's start going through some of the questions that the ladies have submitted when they were so excited to find that we were going to be specifically interviewing a supplement expert. So thank you again for your time and for being here. And so here we go. So what do you say is the best supplements for getting enough omega-3s?
So omega-3s, well, first we'll back up and we'll talk about omega-6s.
Okay, perfect.
Are as a whole, we eat way too many omega-6 fatty acids in comparison to omega-3 fatty acids. So there's a big inflammatory response to eating too many omega-6s, and there's the potential of an anti-inflammatory response to eating enough omega-3s. So the importance of getting enough omega-3 fatty acids, the need is there. So you do need to get enough omega-3 fatty acids. You can get it from food, obviously, but most people don't want to eat that much fish, that much grass-fed beef, and all the other sources of omega-3 fatty acids. So a fish oil supplement or vegetarian-based omega-3 supplement is necessary. The problem is that there's a quality control issue with omega-3 supplements, and generally the ones that you find at the big box commercial stores that sell them in 200, 300, 400 count bottles that may give you enough, they're selling very, very poor quality omega-3 fatty acids. And because fat is so sensitive to heat and degradation, it's going to have negative health effects rather than positive health effects. So quality is absolutely necessary. There's two main things that I tell people to find in a fish oil supplement. The first one is to make sure that it comes from cold water. So eating a fish that resides in 85-degree weather is not going to have the same quality of omega-3 fatty acids as a cold water sourced fish. The second thing is, on the same subject, is that it needs to be cold processed. So if you use a heating process to the fish, you're going to have the same issues as you would have by having the fish be in warm waters, fished and brought into a boat that's in hot air. So we want to keep it cold as much as possible. So that's, other than that, I think if you want to have krill oil or fish oil, or anything, just try to make sure that the quality comes from it being cold. Does that make sense? And I do recommend that people take much more fish oil than they actually do. A lot of people will buy a fish oil supplement and take one capsule a day, getting 500 milligrams to a gram. And that's better than nothing. But the reality is they've done research from 4 to 60 grams of fish oil a day. I mean, the need is there. Now, 60 grams is going to be impossible for people financially, but trying to get to at least 4 grams of fish oils a day, that would be my recommendation.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Wow. And so I'm wondering if when we're looking at them on the bottle and on the back, then we can be looking for hopefully that they'll tell us that it's cold pressed and that it's a cold water fish. Otherwise, we need to do a little bit more research to find out what sources is it really coming from.
Yeah. Well, for example, we got a brand in here, and then we called them and said, if it's cold water sourced, and they said, I don't know. And that was enough for us to say, no, that's not for us.
Nope.
I don't know is not going to be a good enough answer. No. Yeah. So the companies should absolutely know. We don't have it yet. We won't have it for a month, but we started buying from a company called Neptune Solutions that sells really, really high quality, cold water sourced omega-3 fatty acids. So that will be our line. But you can get a bunch of others, not just the ones that we carry.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That is going to change a lot of things next time I'm going to look to buy my fish oil supplement for sure. That's amazing. All right, let's see. Okay. Did you want to talk about things that upset our tummy a little bit? Maybe that's a personal thing versus, is there standard things that you hear a lot of people kind of complaining about? I know that for myself, I have had some major stomach cramping and some really painful experiences when I have ended up having protein bars that I found out later were made with sugar alcohols.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even understand what that was and that was even a thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've had to be careful to avoid those. But
Yeah.
sometimes I hear people saying that it's okay to have sugar alcohols, and then other people know. And so what are your thoughts on that?
So I think there's some general rules that if you do something, you could get a stomach ache. I think that that's there, but more often than not, it's an individual experience. And as a person, I was raised on goat's milk. I could not have any regular milk growing up because I was supposedly so lactose intolerant that I had just immediate stomach pains from it. And so I spent about 7 years on goat's milk, and later on down the road, I found out I could actually drink milk. The type of milk I was drinking, the quality of the cows how they were treating the cows, what the cows were being fed, made a difference. And I was not, in fact, truly lactose intolerant in that sense. So, each individual is going to have their own personal stomach issues that may or may not align with somebody else. So you have to be very careful telling your friends, don't do this, it gave me a stomach ache, because they may not have that problem. And so where sugar alcohols might affect you, they might be the answer for some people who just cannot stay away from sweets. And this is just the only thing they can do, and their stomachs handle it just fine. So for example, outside of sugar alcohols, I can handle a ton of fat at one time. My bulletproof coffees I make in the morning sometimes have 72 grams of fat in it in the morning, and I don't get any stomach pains from it. Most people, they'd have to take the day off from work. They'd be done. So each person's different, and you have to test, and obviously test in small amounts. Don't test in large amounts. Find out a little safer than sorry, But yeah, it's definitely an individual thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you mind explaining a little bit about sugar alcohols as well? Because there might be some people listening that have never even heard of that at all. But when you start looking at labels in the industry, you're going to begin to see that some people, that you'll see that. And it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, so sugar alcohols are obviously used to replace sugar, and they're much sweeter than sugar, but they are a natural laxative. And so if you do respond well to laxatives, you're going to respond well to this. So our industry uses them to get away from, sucralose and stevia, and no one uses aspartame anymore, but they tend to have a bitter taste to them, whereas the sugar alcohols don't really have too much of a bitter taste. But even our industry knows you can't put too much of those. You can't just fill your product with sugar alcohols, or everybody's going to have a problem, because it's a laxative. So they try to balance it out by having a little bit of this and a little bit of that into it. And so just knowing it's a laxative, I think, is the main thing. If you buy a protein bar, it sounds good. Make sure you turn it around and find out if there's sugar alcohols or not. And not all protein bars have sugar alcohols. That's not a one size fits all thing. It's really going to be the ones that are trying to appeal to the candy bar market. So if they're trying to make it look like a Snickers or an Almond Joy or something like that, probably has sugar alcohols in it.
I see. Got it. Okay. So then FYI, beware when you have that, and you may need to stay close to the restroom just in case, to see how your body's going to respond to that.
Yes, absolutely.
So good to know. All right. This is a big one. Are there supplements that help with cravings?
Yes. So there's foods that help with cravings. So first of all, if you're craving, that means you're hungry, right? Or it means you're thirsty because you're dehydrated. So the very first supplement you'd want to take is water.
Yes.
Is drinking, a couple cups of water is probably going to help that. But look, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I don't do that. I go, I should drink some water. No, let me go ahead and have this instead. So water is the first thing. And then a misconception is that, first of all, fats are bad. So everybody thinks fats are bad. But fats are actually the most satiating of all the macronutrients.
Yes.
So eating dietary fats will stop you from being hungry. Again, that's healthy fats, not eating unhealthy fats. And then protein is the next one. So if you were to say, I need to eat something and I need to crush this craving, your first bet would be make sure there's some fats included. Second bet would be to make sure there's protein included. And then the third would be to make sure that there's fiber included. And those three will that'll get rid of your hunger, and you haven't touched a single candy bar or anything that has carbohydrates or sugar in it. So that's from food. From supplements, there have been things like Hoodia. You probably heard of Hoodia. That was popular in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. It's okay, maybe does some for some people, but back when I first started in this industry, I worked at a GNC, and the number one return we got was Hoodia. I mean, most people just didn't work. So there's a lot of supplements that say that they help suppress appetite, and they actually don't. The only thing that we sell is an ingredient called Nutrios, which is a fiber that's been researched and proven to absolutely control your appetite. And 4 grams is not as good as 8 grams. 8 grams is not as good as 12 grams, and it goes up from there. So it's something that you can actually take more of, which for women is very important because they tend not to get enough fiber in their diet anyways. So if you know you need to have fiber and you want to have one that will help control appetite, Nutrios would be that particular one. That's the only one we really recommend, because that's the only one that time and time again people come back for. So we don't carry any Hoodia or any of those types of supplements. Another thing to consider too is that there are things that are going to make you hungrier. So if you exercise, it's going to make you hungrier. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting cravings, it's because you're not giving yourself the amount of nutrients that you need from that exercise. So it's not a cravings problem. It's just a calorie problem. You need to eat food. And then a lot of people are taking fat burners and they wonder why they're hungry. Well, fat burners increase the amount of calories you burn, and it will actually increase your appetite. So paying attention to those is really important too.
That's awesome.
Hopefully that answered that.
Oh, you answered it so well. Yes, thank you so much. And I have not heard of, what was the one that you called it that people are coming back for? Nutrios?
Nutrios, Nutriose.
Okay, and is that what we would find if we went to, a store that sold supplements, or is that a brand, or is it an ingredient?
It's an ingredient, and fiber is not popular, so it's not like besides Metamucil, we don't really know much fiber, so it's not picked up by a lot of stores. We sell it. You can buy it on Amazon. There's a couple companies that sell it. Some people will put it in their formulas of product, and those have some, but probably not enough. We sell it in a formula, but we also sell it in a straight powder so that you can add the whole dang tub to it if you want to. So it's there. You're just not going to find it in a local retailer, most likely. Yeah. Okay. But Amazon's probably your best bet.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you for that. And I love that you addressed healthy fats, because that's the first thing, like when they're telling me this, like I'm getting hungry too soon, or I'm getting cravings. I'm like, well, you need more fats. We need to not be afraid of fats, and we need healthy fats. Like, let's begin to get comfortable having healthy fats and understanding healthy and unhealthy fats, so that there's no guilt that comes along with it. It's just that's going to sustain your body. It's going to be so good. And that's breaking a lot of preconceptions that women have had for a long time when it comes to fats. So I love that you mentioned that. And yeah, to be aware that there is a balance, that if you are working out more, especially if you're strength training, you're doing things that are going to burn more calories in your body, then it's okay if you're getting hungry. So we just need to deal with the hunger in an appropriate way, not deal with the hunger by binging on the candy bars and on the sodas and whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. That was a great one. Oh, let's address, just because some people might have this question as well, when we see that supplements come in different forms. So there's liquids and drops, and then there's pills, and then there's, chewables or capsules or whatever. What would you say is one more beneficial than the other? I'm assuming it probably depends on the product itself and the best delivery system into your body.
Yeah. So there's what research says, and then there's what theory thinks. And so both are good. So a lot of times it's good to go with what the research says. And if there is something that says this is better than that because it's in a fat soluble solution, that's great. But you're also going to run into, we just put it in a liposomal, which is like a fat soluble solution, because we think it does this. And it may be better, it may not be. What you just want to stay away from is things that put it into a delivery system and then have been proven not to be any better than something. So there's ingredients that are completely absorbed by the body, and then there's ingredients that are very poorly absorbed by the body. So if you're going to get into that world, I think you really need to take your time and figure out what you're taking. There was an example is in 2003, there was an ingredient called creatine ethyl ester that was on the market. It was a form of creatine that was basically alcohol bonded and was supposedly going to just change the industry. And then about 2 years later, after numerous studies said it did absolutely nothing, it fell out of our industry. But for 2 years, myself included, we all took this because theoretically we thought it was going to be better than what was already out there. And what it came down to is we're paying about 6 times what we should have been for just basic creatine. So you don't always need an enhanced delivery system. I think more important than that is isolating extracts. I think that's important to know about. So that will give you more potency of a particular ingredient without maybe any of the other, not side effects, but other reactions that happen because of the raw powder. So that could be important to pay attention to. But when you get into that world, you really need to do your research and we're on a podcast, don't just go off what a podcast says. Maybe type in, creatine, liposomal delivery system research into Google and see what comes out of it, because you might be wasting your money. And a lot of times you are. In the world of branched chain amino acid supplements, everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel on those because there's no profit margin in them. And so they're trying to come out with a new way to spin it in order to make more money, when the truth is you just need to take regular good old branched chain amino acid supplements, and those are good enough. So I think consistency is the most important, though. Whatever supplement you take will work so much better if you're consistent with it than if you inconsistently use it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I must say, I am so guilty of being inconsistent.
Yeah.
Man, it's just developing a new habit. And I think sometimes it's like, well, what were the results I was supposed to be seeing from this?
Sure.
Shouldn't I already see results after taking this 3 times, And it's just like, we're unrealistic as well when it comes to that too. And so then it's like, well, then did I just waste my money on this? Maybe it really isn't what it says it is, and all those different things. Yes.
Yeah. And believing in a supplement's important. I know that sounds pretty lame, but the truth is if the placebo effect is real. So even if a supplement did absolutely nothing, but you believed in it, and if it was weight loss, you'd end up probably losing a pound or a pound and a half just off that belief system. So if you don't believe something's going to work, you probably should immediately return it, because you absolutely will get no results from it with having a belief system that's poor. So yeah, believing in what you're taking starts with understanding, researching, and knowing what you're taking, and then trusting the process.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. So as I look here, we definitely have more questions, but I don't think we have as much time as we'd like. I definitely want to keep the podcast short and sweet so we get some information and then we can go off running with that. So I would love to, and I'm sure the women would love to invite you back to do a part 2 in a few weeks. And we can see what other questions may come out of this episode, and we can dive a little bit deeper into some of the questions that we didn't get to today. But thank you so much, Jason, for being here and for sharing clearly the wealth of knowledge that you have about the industry, not just about what we're taking, but the science behind it and the research behind it and all the other things that we don't always take time to do. And that's not our expertise, but we need to find the right people to get the knowledgeable and credible answers from. And so I absolutely appreciate you for that. And how can we learn more about you? How can we get in touch with you? And what business information do you want to give us?
Our website is Better Body Sports, BetterBodySports.com. And if you just send an email to my name, Jason at BetterBodySports.com, that'll come directly to me. And you can bring questions there too. I like being challenged. So hopefully you have some questions that I haven't answered before. And if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I know the answer. I'll go find the answer and I'll get the answer for you. Or if it doesn't exist, I'll tell you it doesn't exist.
I appreciate that. Yes. And your physical location for your store as well is?
So we're in Ventura, California. Specifically, the address is 5100 Telegraph Road in Ventura, California. And if you happen to come here, there's a great taco place called Snapper Jack's just 3 doors over. So come for the tacos and then come say hi at the store.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Melody with the Healthy Christian Women podcast signing off. I will see you again next week. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe and join me next week for the next episode of the Healthy Christian Women podcast. Inspiring Christian women to live healthier in their mind, body, and spirit, one day at a time. Grab your complimentary mind, body, and spirit detox checklist at healthychristianwomen.com/detox. That's healthychristianwomen.com/detox.